All right, y'all. Here we go, and welcome back. The bottom line, P. Drew. So we just finished watching the Chiefs and the Chargers game, and the Chargers get the upset. As I called it, they would get the upset over the Chiefs. Like I said, it's that neutral site game. No team really has a home game, but I did pick the Chargers to upset the Chiefs just because, like I said, I figured with the travel and being with it being a neutral site game, I thought the Chargers could take this one from the Chiefs, and they did. They win the game 27-21. But the surprising thing, man, Justin Herbert balled out tonight, man. Justin Herbert, 25 and 34, 318 yards, 3 touchdowns. Looked comfortable all night, man. Justin Herbert played tonight like that Super Bowl talent quarterback that we all thought he could be. That's what he looked like tonight, man. He was slinging the ball all over the place, spread it around, got it to. I mean, if you look at the receiving for, he got it to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He got it to eight different receivers. Eight different receivers caught a pass tonight. I mean, you had Quentin Johnson. He had 79 yards, 2 touchdowns. You had McConkey. He had 74 yards. Keenan Allen had 68. Conklin had 50. I mean, he was spreading the ball everywhere tonight. I mean, they basically carved up the Chiefs defense tonight. He really did, man. Like I said, 318 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. And like I said, really spread the love everywhere on offense. He looked really good. A lot of passes was on target. Like I said tonight, Justin Herbert played like, yeah, this is one of the best games I've seen him play, like through and through, just like throughout. He looked really good tonight. Like I said, that he looked like that all pro quarterback that we know he could be. Patrick Mahomes, he went 24, 39, 258 yards, 1 touchdown, but he really looked like he struggled, man. Patrick didn't play really good tonight. A lot of short throws, short passes. The run game for Kansas City, non-existent. Actually, Patrick Mahomes led him in rushing tonight, and that's never like that. He had 57 yards on 6 carries, and he actually scored a touchdown. Pacheco only had 5 carries for 25 yards. Kareem Hunt, 5 carries for 16. I mean, the running game for Kansas City was non-existent. They put it all on Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick Mahomes, like I said, had another one of those real pedestrian games. He only got sacked twice. I mean, they put a little bit of pressure on him. He that's why he had so many rushing attempts. He did have to get outside the pocket a little bit. But like I said, KC's offense didn't look real good at all. I mean, the Chargers defense, they played pretty good. The defense didn't look too bad. Tonight, I think it was more about Justin Herbert and the Chargers offense, man. They really look good tonight. But like I said, on that neutral field, I mean, KC did have a lot of fans in the crowd. It did seem like more of a home game for Kansas City. But once again, man, that travel, like I said, when you traveling and you playing on a neutral field, and it's not technically a home game. You're out of the country. A lot of guys, they don't want to be in Brazil. I'm not trying to give no excuses for the Chiefs, but like I said, it wasn't a national televised game. It was on YouTube, which was kind of funny. They had a lot of YouTubers on there. Tonight was one of the funniest little broadcasts that I seen, because like I said, it wasn't on a major network. You didn't see none of like the major broadcasters or the media, the news media on there. It was all YouTuber. They had Mr. Beast on there. I think I saw Kai on there. Kai Cenat was on there. They had Cam Newton on there, and some chick that I ain't never seen before doing the press game and the halftime and all of that. So I don't know. The structure of the game was as far as like the broadcasting, it was all YouTube. It was all YouTube tonight. So like I said, that was kind of interesting. It wasn't it wasn't necessarily nationally televised. But once again, man, we don't want to take nothing away from Justin Herbert. There was still a football game, and I don't know. He looked the best out there. Like I said, man, spread the ball around. All the receivers got involved. He got all his receivers and his teammates involved. They had a decent rushing attack. Not too much rushing. Justin Herbert actually got out too and was running the ball. He made some key runs when he needed to. Got out of the pocket, got a few yards when he had to. Like I said, the Chargers just overall played a better game tonight. than what Kansas City did. Like I said, interesting going forward. I mean, the way they played tonight, it's only one game, and I don't want to sit here and say that they're gonna win the division or anything, but man, they look like the much better team. They look like the way more complete team the Chargers did. Everything about the Chargers, to the quarterback, to the rushing, defense, receivers, it was a complete team effort tonight from the Chargers, and they honestly look like the better team. Like I said, as long as Patrick Mahomes is there, I'll never count out the Kansas City Chiefs as far as they've won a division 9 years in a row. But tonight they look like the older team. They look like a team that was like, hey man, we've been in the Super Bowl the last 3 seasons. We just out here to collect our check and get paid. That's really how they played tonight, man. They didn't. I'm not gonna say they didn't put no effort, but I didn't see, like I said, that Kansas City effort trying to win, man. They did not look like that. I don't know if it was because the Chargers were just better or KC really just looked like, man, we tired. They really look like, man, we tired. We look like that old veteran team, like I said, been to the Super Bowl 3 years in a row, and they just came out today like, man, God, Lee, where we back, we got to play another game. As I'm watching the game, like I said, they're just really, really how they look, man. They just look like they're going through the motion. That's how they look, like they were just going through the motion. You know what I'm saying? Like the Chargers came out, looked like they was trying to prove a point. Like, hey man, we trying to put it on these boys. We trying to make a statement. That's how Justin Herbert played. And Kansas City just kind of was just like, man, we walking out here again because this is what we get paid to do. So all that talk about, oh, we hungry, we back, we ready to avenge our Super Bowl, like that when you start playing in the games, that play on the field did not look like that at all. Travis Kelce, so the leading receiver for the Chiefs was Hollywood Brown. He came to play. He had 10 receptions, 99 yards. Juju had a couple catches, but I mean, Travis Kelce was non-existent in the game basically. He had 2 catches for 47 yards, and one of them was on that bomb in the third quarter for 30. One catch was 37 yards on that touchdown where he was wide open. And other than that, he only had, one catch for 10 yards. That's it. So, I mean, he was, like I said, he looked, non-existent in the game, except for that one. And it really was a little trickery play where he acted like he was a decoy going to block downfield and then broke off and he got open. Like on a little, like he confused the guys. Like I said, he went to act like he went to block and then broke, and that's how he got open. And maybe cerebrally and trick plays and just that veteran craftsmanship, that might be the only way that he can get open now. I mean, and like I said, you're only gonna get one of those a game, and maybe he was saving that for, hey, we needed to score at this point, and so he pulled that out of his bag or whatever, out of his hat. But other than that, man, they kind of just shut him down, bro. Like I said, he only had 1 catch for 10 yards besides that one little trick play. And once again, you only going to get one of those a game. Because, like I said, after you pull that little trick, they're going to be waiting for it and ready for that if you try to do that again. So, like I said, he pulled that out of his bag one time and was able to get, a bomb downfield and a touchdown off of it. But like I said, I mean, and nobody else really, man, stepped up, man. Nobody else really on Kansas City stepped up. Like I said, they just was going through the motion tonight. And if they go through that, and if they play like that the rest of the season, yeah, they not winning. They not winning a whole lot of games, and they damn sure ain't beating the Eagles next week if they play like that. And they not winning their division if they play. Like I said, you got these other teams, man. They hungry. They've been trying to beat. They tired of Patrick Mahomes winning. They like I said, look at how they've been beefing up. Look at how they own division been beefing up their rosters, and everything is to beat them just in their division. Like they tired of Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Andy Reid. They tired of y'all winning, man. So there's no more coming out just trying to be pedestrian, talking about, we just gonna go through the motion because we the Chiefs and we the best team. Hell nah. These other teams, they've been gearing up and getting better to be able to beat you, and the Chargers came out and proved that tonight. Like I said, they looked like they was on a mission to make a point and make a statement to come out and put it on the Chiefs tonight, and that's exactly what they did. Like I said, the Chiefs gonna have to have a long. They're gonna have a long flight home because shit, they coming from Brazil. They long as hell flight on the way home. So they got a lot to talk about, man. They're gonna have to really regroup. But like I said, I don't know how mentally you come out of that. It's hard, man. Like I said, when you've been the champs for so long and you used to winning, and Like I said, you've been to 3 Super Bowls in a row. You can talk the talk all you want. You can talk that shit like, yeah, man, we coming back. We got blown out. Da, 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 da. But human nature just say, man, like when you are used to winning, winning becomes normal to you. That shit becomes you. Like I said, it's hard just to not go through the motion because you've always done that, and you feel like you can just win by going through the motion because of who y'all are, that reputation. And like I said, and you know, it's funny, like the people the last couple seasons been saying that, hey man, Patrick Mahomes kind of been falling off the last couple seasons, but they still been winning. Like I said, like last year, they felt like that Patrick Mahomes had a step back, but they still went 15-2. But all they wins was like at the end of the game, 1-score wins. I think they won like 17 in a row, 1-score games. That's been they won 17 in a row with winning under 7 points, or like last minute drives, or 7-point games, 1-possession games, or whatever. They've won 17 of those in a row. But like they say, man, eventually that shit runs out. Every year teams are getting better, especially when you've been top dog all this time. Like I said, it just might be the year that it's like, nah, man, it's somebody else's turn. Like y'all are burnt out, bled out, and it mentally it is just tough to not walk in with your chest out as the champs. Like I said, you could talk all the shit that you want and say, hey, no, man, we ready, we coming back, da, 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 da. But human nature says you just going through the motion, just like almost subconsciously. Like you just like, man, we the champs, and it's hard to break that mold because you're so used to it and you're so used to winning. So like I said, they're going to have a real group huddle team meeting and figure out how they can get out of that mindset of just going through the motion and find some kind of motivation to get them back to the being elite and being who, we know them to be. Because like I said, man, Patrick Mahomes is just, like I said, he just won so much. And when you win so much, it's hard. You always feel like you can go through the motion, just be you, be normal, and prepare the same way, and you'll go out there and win. And like I said, if the teams are going to come out tonight the way the Chargers played and still look at them as top dog, and the Kansas City is going to come out with that same mentality that they came out with tonight, they're going to have a long season. They're going to have a long season because, like I said, it's just when you look at the numbers and when you watch the game, as much as they may have wanted to, I just think the pedestrian shit done kicked in, man. That going through the motion has really, really settled into them. Travis Kelce, like I said, you can tell yourself all you want that you motivated but your body tell you something different. And once your body tell you something different, like I said, when you got to pull a trick play out, when you got to pull a trick out of your bag just to get a touchdown, yeah, man, that's telling you something. And it's the first game of the season. You ain't even in week 8, 9, 10 yet, to where you've been running. You know what I'm saying? Like you done had wear and tear in your body. You ain't even got to that. This is the first game, and you already got to pull tricks out of your bag. That's not a good sign. That's not a good sign. Like I said, it's only the first game, so I'm not gonna overreact to how the Chiefs look tonight. But I'm gonna tell you something. If they come out next week and they look the same way the Chiefs, it might be like technically that off season for the Chiefs, to where it's like, all right, man, the Super Bowl run done got to us. We taking a season off. We taking a season off. It's time to take a season off, and we might be at that point, but we'll see. Going forward, maybe they look. Maybe they, like I said. And remember, as I said, and I forgot that I did say I felt like the Kansas City Chiefs were overlooking the Chargers because they looking at next week to the Eagles, because that's the revenge game that they're really looking for, and that was another reason I thought that the Chargers might go ahead and upset the Chiefs, because I felt like the Chiefs was looking past the Chargers like, man, we just got to get this game out the way, because they are really looking forward to week 2 with that game next week when they play the Eagles, and then that might be the game that they really geared up for. So, and that was, I forgot that's another reason I felt like the Chargers were really going to sneak up on the Chiefs and win this game. So maybe that's what it is. We'll see. They just wanted to get through this game. They didn't care if they won. And like I said, the fact it was in Brazil, they was like, man, fuck this game. We looking forward to next week when they play the Eagles. So, like I said, we will see. But like I said, give the Chargers all the credit in the world. They came out and played real good tonight. And like I said, I hope Justin Herbert can keep this up. If he play like this the rest of the season, that boy gonna be in the MVP conversation by the end of the season, and the Chargers gonna be in a really, really good place headed into the playoffs. Congrats to the Chiefs. And then I wanted to recap last night's game as well. Cowboys and the Eagles. The boys did lose that game last night, 24-20. And remember, I touched on it. Everybody's talking about old Hawk Tua, Jalen Carter, goddamn, decided to spit on Dak Prescott and before after the first kickoff, before a play even got ran, got his ass thrown out of the damn game, and unfortunately did not get to play in his home opener versus the Cowboys. But like I said, the Cowboys, that game was good last night. So Dallas went into Philadelphia on ring ceremony night and actually, like I said, put up a fight. Them boys put up a fight, man. I'm not, like I said, I was actually impressed by how the Dallas Cowboys looked last night overall in the game. I hate that they had that hour delay. I felt like that kind of that threw the game off. That hour delay threw the game off, man. Because when you have momentum and the game is playing, football is one of those sports where it's so physical and so, violent of a sport that once you go sit down for too long and the body, like I said, an hour to sit down, your body then went into recovery mode. Like a lot of the players probably, their bodies was like, all right, well, the game is over. Because, your body is like, okay, after 20, 30 minutes, it's like, all right, well, whatever activity you've been hitting and banging for a whole half, and like I said, body went to recovery mode. And then after an hour, you got to turn around and gear up and go back out. Like if the score was 21-20 at halftime, and there was only 3 more points scored and I think it stopped in like the beginning of the third quarter was when the delay started. And there was only 3 more points scored in the rest of the game. That tells you everything. That delay really fucked them up, man. Because like I said, your body goes into recovery mode after you've been banging and playing so hard, and then you sit for an entire hour. You know what I'm saying? Ask anybody that even if you training, if you running, if you lifting weights, if you go out and street and play basketball or football or whatever you playing, and you go sit down for an hour, your body goes into recovery mode. So as hard as these guys was going, man, for them to sit for an entire hour and have to come back and play the rest of the game, it really, it threw everybody off. Now, you can't say one team or the other had an advantage because both teams had to go sit down. So, it's not an excuse to say whatever. But the fact that only 3 more points were scored in the rest of the game, that kind of got to tell you everything, man. Them boys their bodies was already done. It's just that they were forced to. They ain't had no choice. They had to come out and finish the game. But like I said, Jalen Hurts really carried them for the most part. Carried the Eagles, man. He carried the Eagles. He scored. He had a couple of rushing touchdowns. Saquon Barkley, decent game. He had 18 carries, 60 yards. But Jalen Hurts had 14 carries for 62 yards and 2 touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. And like I said, he was bailing them out on third down, bailing them out when he had to escape the pocket, down in the red zone. He was really doing a lot. The passing game really wasn't nothing last night. It was more of the rushing game and more Jalen Hurts. I know Dotson had that one bomb down the field, but other than that, there were no big pass plays from the Eagles at all. A.J. Brown only had 1 target, and that was at the end of the game. So, the passing game, the Eagles really going to have to work on that. I don't know if it was Dallas that was I don't want to say it was Dallas that was really locking down. They did bring some pressure on Jalen Hurts. Like I said, forced him out of the pocket a few times. Like I said, the passing game really was not, even though they were able to march down the field, they basically did it through the run game. And then Jalen Hurts was able to finish it off down in the red zone a few times. But they definitely going to have to work on that pass and attack, as going forward. Because when other teams, if they see that and they shut down the run, Jalen Hurts going to have to put that ball in the air. Maybe it was they just did what they had to do. They took what the defense gave them. They took what was there. And like I said, it was enough for them to get the victory. So, you can't be mad at the way they played. As far as Dallas, it's funny because once Jalen Carter had went out, I feel like Dallas kind of took advantage exactly what was given to them or what they were looking for. They were running the ball. Javonte Williams had a really good first half. They were running right up the gut, right up the middle. They got CD going early. CD had a good first half. He was looking for him. They were really attacking Adoree Jackson, and that's the other side of the ball, because Quinyon Mitchell is a number one corner, pretty good, one of the better corners in the league. But they were worried about that other side of the ball, and Dallas really attacked them in the first half, and it was working. He had some pass interference calls, and then they took him out. I forgot who they replaced him with, but they still were attacking him, and they had a lot of success in that first half. Going at the second corner on that other side. So like I said, Dallas really, really had a good first half, and then obviously in the second half they had some opportunities to win. Miles Sanders, they were in the red, or they were marching down inside the 20-yard line ready to score, and then Miles Sanders fumbles the ball. So he missed a possession on that. CD had some drop passes, some dimes that he dropped late in the ball game where it could have swung momentum and changed momentum. So Dallas really had Dallas had some opportunities, man. They could have won this game, but like I said, I'm impressed of how they played, and I said it too. I thought the game was going to be a better game. I didn't think that Dallas was going to come in and get blown out. Like I said, they heard all the noise. They knew about the trade. It's a division rival, first game of the year. So like I said, I never thought it was going to be a blowout. I always thought the game was going to be competitive anyway. So Dallas did exactly what I thought, but Dak played a really good game. You know what I'm saying? I think they were affected. I don't care what anybody says. Both teams were affected by that hour delay. That really fucked them up. I wish that wasn't the case, and they could have played all the way through and played a straight game. But like I said, you can't make excuses because both teams had to deal with it. So it is what it is. But like I said, if Dallas can play like this going forward, man, I give them a shot. I just think maybe they were a little extra motivated, and it was the first game of the season. And Dallas is one of those teams that usually start out the season pretty good. They usually get off to good starts. Dak is one of them quarterbacks that usually get off to pretty good starts. You'll always see them start 4-2, 5-1, or some shit like that. They usually start pretty good. Dallas always has a good start to the season, so I'm not surprised about that at all. But I do believe the Cowboys will cowboy eventually. And this will wear off. I still believe that they'll finish last in the division. I don't see them making the playoffs. I don't see them being in contention in this division at all. I just think Washington and Philly are too good. And then I think the New York Giants are on the rise, especially if they throw that rookie Jackson Dart in there. So, like I said, I give them credit for this first game. Like I said, they look better than, even I thought they were. I thought they'd be competitive. But as far as the way the game looked and the way they played pretty good. So I give them credit for that. But like I said, you missed some opportunity. You had a chance to win the game. You had a few opportunities to win the game, and this was one that you needed to steal to catch some momentum, and you still weren't able to get it. And that's my thing. Like, this was something you could have took advantage of, that you could have got an upper hand and got off to a good start, and you still weren't able to do it. So, like I said, I just believe eventually in this season, the Cowboys are going to end up cowboying, and it's going to get worse. And I don't believe in their coach and that coaching staff. They got a weak coach to me. He seems weak. He seems like he tries too hard to be like a player coach. Like, he seems like he's just trying too hard. And like I said, they look good tonight, as far as, discipline and everything, but I just don't see it going forward. And then at the end of the day, they missed the opportunity. So, but we'll see going forward what they'll do, which I don't think will be much. So, but like I said, shout out to the Eagles for the win. And so we will see next week what both teams look like.